Gaming is a social activity, from the earliest days of arcades to the last year we've spent sheltering in place. Adventures are explored, friendships are made, and rivalries are fought. In current year, a lot of our gaming experiences are made better when we can tap into that good data. Is your internet good enough for gaming? No matter what titles you're playing right now, you'll want to carve out a little leisure time to catch up on all the videos and articles here on reviews.org. So make sure you get all those subscription and notification options clicked down below. Working with the editorial team on reviews.org, answering the question, best internet for gaming is actually kind of difficult. Of course, in a lot of areas, you might not have competition for your broadband providers, but we can chat if your connection is good enough for gaming. There are a couple different aspects to consider when we discuss gaming, where different parts of your internet connection matter most. Starting off easy, downloading and updating your games. A lot of us are buying our games online, but even when you do occasionally buy a disc, you gotta update that game anyway. This one's pretty easy to understand because it's basically just your download speed and the size of the update. Let's say the game file is 10 gigabytes and you have a 100 megabyte connection. That download should finish in about 13 and a half minutes at full speed. A slower connection will take longer. That's just a little pre-algebra math. We wanna have some fun with friends though. So next, we're gonna chat online play, co-op, deathmatch, and battle royale. This one's a bit trickier because every game eats a different amount of data. And we typically talk about this because of data caps, but we can use those numbers to take a guess at what speed we might need. Thankfully, co-op style play usually doesn't need as much bandwidth as folks often think. A game like Destiny 2 can be a little heavier on the data. Estimates as high as 300 megabytes per hour. That's 5 megabytes per minute or 0.08 megabytes per second. Even if we assume that whole quantity of information was just the data you were sending up to the server, which it's not, you'd still be holding on with a 1 megabit connection. Now, of course, we can't count on our peak speed being our sustained speed. So with a 1 megabit connection, you'd probably experience interruptions and dropouts, stutter, and lag. So we'd probably want to bump that up a bit. Even a thirstier game like Destiny 2, you'd probably be okay with a 5 megabit up and down if nothing else in your house was also eating up some bandwidth. But our next category gets just a touch more complicated when we want to share our gaming exploits with others. On a service like Twitch, hosting a game stream is going to test your upload. The numbers don't sound too bad, but the issue is sustained speed again, not the peak speed advertised by your broadband provider. A minimum quality stream on Twitch is likely around 1.5, 1.8 megabits per second. Stepping up to a higher quality 1080p stream is going to be around 4 megabits per second. Streams happen live, so it's no good if your connection keeps slowing down under those speeds. Now, Craig on the reviews.org team says if you can swing around a 10 megabit per second upload as your peak speed, you're probably good to keep a sustained upload at decent quality. Of course, your mileage will vary. My home ISP advertises a 20 megabit upload, but I've had a number of issues hosting my weekly podcast, which definitely does not stream at that highest quality. Shifting gears a little here, in the modern era, game streaming could also mean streaming your gameplay from another remote server. Instead of rendering the game locally on a PC or console, you could use a service like Stadia, Game Pass, or GeForce Now. This, of course, needs even more speed. Minimum stream quality for Stadia is 10 megabits per second, sustained. And if you want to step up to that 4K, you'll need at least 35 megabits per second. Of course, if anything interrupts that connection, your quality dips and the game chugs. Lastly, each of these categories is a separate measurement. So let's say you wanted to play a game in your Stadia library, co-op with some friends, and send that up to Twitch. I'll let you do all the math on that combination. We've got a full write-up on reviews.org with more information on game streaming and the broadband providers best supporting you gamers out there. So you can catch that full write-up in the description down below. As always, thanks so much for watching, for sharing, subscribing to the channel. Be on the lookout for our live streams. Follow us around on social media. And I think we've got some fun contests coming up too. For reviews.org, I'm Juan Carlos Bagnell, AKA Some Gadget Guy, and I'll catch y'all on the next video.